back. Ah yes, one of my all-time favorite fighting game characters. Making his debut in Fatal Fury 3 as a mid-boss, Yamazaki is practically the perfect mixture of loony, cartoony mischief and bloodthirsty, sadistic carnage. He brought a special blend of destruction to KOF in his playable debut in '97, and throughout his many appearances in the franchise, he has managed to become all the more insane and brutal, and I love it. These are 10 fascinating facts about Ryuji Yamazaki. Number 1, he was originally set to be on 14's main roster, which still annoys me to this day. In case you're new here, first off, thanks for watching. I'm glad to have you. Second of all, one of my fighting game pet peeves is when the same character is DLC in back-to-back games. KOF 15 brought over most of the DLC from 14 onto the base roster, but of course, there was Rock and Yamazaki. Seeing that he's my favorite of the bunch, yeah. That's why I'm all the more salty. I don't quite know what the explanation for it is when it comes to KOF 15, but I managed to find out what the deal was with 14. In an interview with Famitsu, Oda stated that Yamazaki was cut and relegated to DLC as SNK felt there were already enough Fatal Fury characters on the base roster. Blue Mary was also cut and made DLC for the same reasons, but as you already know, she dodged that curse and made it into 15's base roster. Number 2, planners struggled to give him new moves. I mean, given the many ways this monstrous Yakuza punishes his opposition, I could imagine the thought that goes into creating new moves for him. I think that you wouldn't want anything too grim that would be Mortal Kombat-esque, and nothing that is so cartoony it would relegate him to being a joke character. According to the good old KOF Anniversary website, the game planner really knocked himself out making new moves for Yamazaki. Among some potential ideas that were scrapped included a Snake Charmer move that would attract the opponent to him, that's whack, and a 7 Serpent Dagger throw. That I'd love to see. Number 3, Orochi's Outlaw. Yamazaki is arguably one of the most standout members of the Hakeshu. While his Orochi heritage is likely the source of his incredible strength, his natural insanity has rendered him impervious to Orochi's influence. The only other Hakeshu member as such is Gaidel. Yamazaki is also the only member of the Hakeshu to hail from another SNK series, as he debuted in Fatal Fury, whereas every other member debuted in KOF, the very series where the faction had first been established. On the KOF Anniversary website, nice to see you again, SNK claimed that adding him to the Hakeshu, quote, bailed them out of a predicament as the faction was a core element of the Orochi storyline and they needed an 8th member to complete it. Finally, Yamazaki is the only member of the Hakeshu to not ever die. Number 4, Double Duty. Voice actors. Quite the talented bunch, aren't they? It's not too far-fetched to see one pulling double or even triple duty in video games, animation, and other productions. You can definitely make some extra change if you got hella range, and Sugo Megami's definitely got range. Not only is he set to reprise his role as Yamazaki in KOF 15, whom he voiced for the first time in 14, but he also voiced a returning Omega Rugal Bernstein. Though both are cruel, powerful, and posing men, they are 2 different shades of evil, with Yamazaki being much more wacky than the super serious Rugal. Mogami also voiced Rasetsumaru in the original and special versions of Samurai Spirits 5. Like Yamazaki and Rugal, this evil Hao Maru lookalike also took pleasure in harming others. Mogami wouldn't be the only one doing double duty voice work in KOF 15, as Lin not only voices Isla, but also Reverse. Seeing the connection between the two, this makes total sense. Number 5, where did the knife go? Good question. The last time he'd use it in a mainline KOF game was 2003. While he made his return in 14, the knife was nowhere in sight. Granted, he made up for it by slamming large objects onto his opponents, the lack of slash was a bit of a downer. Some speculate that at this time, SNK was continuing to suppress the appearance of weapons that could draw blood in KOF, which is odd considering Nakoruru being in KOF 14 and having several attacks involving the usage of her blade. Not too long after he made his return to 14, Yamazaki appeared in the free-to-play mobile RPG beat-em-up KOF All-Star, armed with his trusty knife and not a drop of blood being spilled when it's cutting time. Unfortunately, with Team Southtown's reveal for 15, it appears the knife is yet again not in sight. Did he leave it stuck inside some poor soul in KOF All-Star and forgot to get it back? Also, we're not quite done talking about the knife. Number 6, Yamazaki shouts out Baki. That's actually pretty fun to say. In this recent installment of SNK showing us they really love anime and manga, we take a trip over to the beloved Capcom vs SNK 2. Yamazaki is a straight up beast in that game, kicking and slashing and brawling his way through the competition whilst not pausing to swat away a wild Hanfu. Another interesting intro in CVS2 involves our favorite Psycho squaring off against the one and only Terry Bogard. In this scene, Yamazaki throws the Hungry Wolf his trusty knife. Terry glances down at it, shatters it with a punch, and the tension gets all the more thicker. If you're wondering what this is a nod to, I've already told you. It's a reference to a fight in Baki the Grappler between Bunosha Nanagi and Kaoru Hanayama. You more than likely don't need me to tell you about Baki the Grappler, or Grappler Baki if you prefer. Quite a highly favored martial arts series notable for its art style and over-the-top action, Baki the Grappler has sold millions of copies. Number 7, Ignition's business director wanted him in KOF 12. Definitely wasn't expecting to talk about KOF 12 in a video about Yamazaki. Yamazaki was a one-and-doner in the Ash Saga. Being playable in KOF 2003, KOF 12 is known for its small roster, controversial character exclusions, and being one of the less favorable KOFs. In an interview with Ignition Entertainment, the publisher who released KOF 12 worldwide to consoles, Director of Business Development Shane Bettenhausen claimed the roster was small due to there simply not being enough room in this game for them. He went on to say, "Trust me, I'd love to have Yamazaki back, but he simply didn't make the cut this time." He then proceeds to encourage fans to be more vocal about characters they love to see return in future installments, which is quite literally what the Kim players are doing right now with 15. Personally, I would have loved to have Yamazaki playable in 13 rather than just being on a wanted poster. It would have been interesting seeing him in the art style that SNK was leaning into at the time. Number 8, his interesting inaugural theme song. You more than likely don't need me to tell you about the awesomeness of KOF's OSTs. I feel the same about Sonic the Hedgehog OSTs. Both have had games that vary in quality, but regardless, the music has always been good at the very least and godlike on their best days. Though the song we're focusing on originated in Fatal Fury, as that was the game in which Yamazaki debuted, it did get some pretty good remakes in KOF. C62 Shirokuni is definitely a banger. The original chiptune version is hella crunchy, and appropriately so. The arranged version keeps the same energy, but with a more classic hard rock feel that is bound to get your toe tapping and a surprisingly cool, chill, psychedelic breakdown in the middle. The KOF versions are all decent as well, with the 98 arranged and 14 versions throwing in the sounds of a train approaching. The train sounds were quite befitting in several ways. For starters, the title of Yamazaki's theme, C62 Shirokuni, is a pun. When you break down the word Shirokuni, shi is a transcription of the letter C, roku means 6, and ni means 2. A C62 is a Japanese steam locomotive, which appears in Yamazaki's stage in the mid-boss battle of Fatal Fury 3. Number 9, roughing up the press. Players whose first foray into KOF was 15 may have been amused by interviews on the official website. What some of them may not know is that the interview segments are quite old school. They were always a nice touch to add some extra charm to the characters and a fairly decent means to tell more of the story. One of the craziest occurrences of these interviews occurred in a 1998 edition of Neo Geo Freak magazine. Remember those? Oh, the 90s. The interview format and questions are very similar to that which you see on the KOF 15 website. There are those characters that will directly answer the questions, those that will shrug them off, and then there is Yamazaki. Knowing how he is, anyone that was foolish enough to try to interview him deserves to get hit with whatever blunt object he can yank from wherever. Surprisingly, his 98 interview was a lot more bizarre than that. Yamazaki gives the answers that you'd expect him to, but then proceeds to attack members of the press with every answer given after the first question. He ruptures the cameraman's skull with his serpent slash, he kicks sand in the sound man's eyes, giving him a corneal inflammation, and then forces the reporter to lick his shoes, before then shattering him with his bombshell bada bing. Clements? You better watch out, dude. Number 10, that rap feature. Depending on your taste, SNK themed image songs were pretty interesting and entertaining, or cheesy and silly. Dance to Peace, or Dance and Peace, was one such image song as performed by the Garo Densetsu All-Stars, a supergroup consisting of Duck King, Terry, Mai, Blue Mary, Lee Zhangfei, and Yamazaki, I guess. And you'll see why I say I guess later. Dance to Peace is a hip-hop track. Having my ears treated to the sound of all of those aforementioned Fatal Fury characters rapping, that is hilarious. Granted, that's not really a bad thing, seeing that this song is silly fun that's bound to put a smile on your face one way or another. So back to why I said I guess earlier when talking about Yamazaki and this song. While the Dojo Buster is known for kicking dirt, he didn't kick a verse and dance to peace. Instead, he berates the other members of the supergroup for not letting him get a verse on the song. I don't know if Yamazaki's got bars, but I do think his laughs and screeches would make for some killer ad-libs. And that's that. Know any other interesting facts about Yamazaki? Please don't hesitate to share below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more videos in the future. I, of course, am Chrysalid, signing off. Y'all take care of yourselves, be safe out there, be cool to each other. Yeah!